But the question I always get is where's Donald Trump? Are you still working with Donald Trump? Is Bobby Kennedy? We all saw you step in front of the cameras of CNN and say, I'm going to be heading a vaccine safety commission. Where is that at? Where is Donald Trump? Is he continuing to help, or what's the truth right now?
The White House almost a year ago cut off all communication with me and with our community. So, Donald Trump during the election said things that were very encouraging and that inspired a lot of hope, and particularly with parents of vaccine-injured kids, people, the mothers of intellectually disabled children who believe that it was vaccines that caused their children's injury. And there's a lot of those people out there, and they're a very, very active and intense political community. And Donald Trump won them over with his statements during that campaign. After the campaign, immediately afterward, he asked me to run a vaccine safety commission, but I think immediately he got blowback from the pharmaceutical industry. And we've seen the steps that this administration has taken since that day, which is essentially to put pharmaceutical industry shills in charge of HHS and CDC and FDA and the other agencies that regulate vaccination, to cut off communication with our community. And I think a lot of people who worked very hard for the president in that election now feel very let down and indeed betrayed.
Do you think that this, obviously you sat in Trump Towers, you sat across from him, you made these points, but it's one thing to make points and have speculation. We now have proof. Is it time to get back in front of Donald Trump and say we have proof now that the only government agencies that are going to protect us, the only place where safety studies are going to be done, have just admitted they are not doing their job? Do you think this is time to reinvigorate this dialogue with Donald Trump? Or, what are our marching orders? Or is it time to repeal the Vaccine Injury Compensation Act? Where do we go from here, Bobby?
Well, I don't think the fact that we have this lawsuit, we have this settlement in a lawsuit in which HHS has admitted that it's not doing the things that it was congressionally mandated to do in order to protect the vaccine safety supply. Although it would be devastating in most circumstances, a devastating and really a cataclysmic admission for an agency to do that, to acknowledge that. I don't think with this particular administration that it's going to make any difference. We showed the proof to the president that the epidemic of chronic diseases is being caused by vaccines, and that there's no safety testing. There's literally no genuine safety testing that takes place for any of the licensed vaccines in this country. And that alone, for somebody who cares about children, that alone would, or about the expenditures that we're being forced to make over $1 trillion a year now, because of the epidemic of chronic disease and the vaccine generation that was born after 1989 when the vaccine schedule exploded.
Right.
It's bankrupting our national health care system. So all of those things are very, very compelling evidence that the president had before him long ago. And I think this administration has made the decision that the pharmaceutical companies are more important constituency and the children who are being injured by vaccines.
All right, but Bobby, look outside of politics, and I say publicly all the time, this has blown up my politics. Obviously, you come from one of the greatest, families of the Democratic Party. What hope do we have? It seemed like Trump wasn't owned to begin with. I know this isn't technically a partisan issue, but it feels like, and you're one of the world's greatest environmentalists. Why are we having such a hard time getting through to environmentalists when they're admitting now that autism appears to be an environmental issue, that it clearly is an environmental issue, that there may be some predetermined disposition created by genetics, but what is more environmental than injecting toxins in children's bodies? Who do we have to get through to, Bobby? Why are we getting shut out you know, on all sides, and where are the environmentalists?
Well, that's a good question. And the answer is that they've been at the pharmaceutical cartel has been very, very adept at erecting vaccines as almost a religious orthodoxy. And they've been able to capture the agencies, the press, these mechanisms that are normally supposed to protect us in a democracy, including a lot of the advocacy community. So I think those of us who care about this issue are on our own, but we have a lot of other mechanisms that and a lot of other weapons that we're now developing, including a number of legal approaches like this. And this is the first of a barrage of legal approaches that we've devised, a legal strategy that we believe will ultimately bring support to the parents, protect these children finally, and bring justice to the families who've been injured.
Fantastic, Bobby. It's such an honor to get to work with you on this front. This is just the very first case, the very first step in moving towards the things that we are working on behind the scenes, in front of the scenes.
And Del, and I do that. We haven't been able to talk about all of our legal strategy, but we now have a lot of different arrows in our quiver, and this is the first one, and it landed and it hit home, and we expect the other ones to make a larger and larger and larger impression as we go. So I'm very encouraged about our future.
Me too. Bobby, thank you for taking time, and go get Monsanto, all right? Bring back relief for those people, and let's get that crap off of our foods. Thank you for taking the time, Bobby. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Del.